Here is some more dishonesty, though, for what it's worth, from Mamdani, who got up there now after saying it someplace by our count between 10 and 15 times that he wanted to defund the police. Now he doesn't want to defund the police. That's not true. That's changed. Here it is in SOT 6.
I am looking to work with police officers, not to defund the NYPD, looking to ensure that officers can actually do one job when they're signing up to join that department.
Okay, and then they asked him, Victor, what do you mean now, right? Because you've been going after cops nonstop. You've called them terrible things. Like you've had nothing but scorn for police officers. And are you taking that back? Because he said, okay, well, I have an apology for those cops. Like, I apologize to cops. And they said, what specifically are you apologizing for? The words that you used, the language you used, or the thinking behind the attacks that you were making? And he said, quote, the issuing of the apology is to reckon with the fact that it's language that I'm applying to the officers, the language, when in fact, what I'm speaking about are specific practices. What he seems to be saying there is, I shouldn't have used the language I used about cops, but the thinking remains the same. So he wants to get credit now for, I guess, not wanting to defund the cops, even though I'll just read to you. Cops are wicked and corrupt. There's no negotiating with them. Defund it, meaning the police department, dismantle it, end the cycle of violence. We don't need an investigation, the separate one, to know NYPD is racist, anti-queer, and a major threat to public safety. What we need is to defund the NYPD. Goes on, no fake cuts, defund the police. Another one, we want to defund the police. Another one, queer liberation means defund the police. So now he's had to run around because people love the police in New York and try to apologize for calling them wicked, corrupt, racist, a major threat to public safety. But he seems to be splitting the baby, saying the words were wrong, but the sentiment, the ideas were right.
That's it's kind of funny because, I was a classicist, and there was this sophistic movement, and these were people who said that if I can convince somebody with language, it must be true, whether it is or not, because they wouldn't believe me if it wasn't true. But there's a very famous line in Euripides' play, The Hippolytus, where he says crazy things, and he said, "My tongue said it. I didn't say it." So
Sounds
I'm not
familiar.
responsible. Yeah, my heart didn't say. The Greeks thought your brain was in your heart, and he said my heart didn't mean it. It's my tongue, was as if your tongue have a life of its own, and it says these things, and it has no connection.
That's going to be Jay Jones's defense in a minute too.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it wasn't me. So they're going to let him get away with this because he's leftist, and he was very disciplined in his message of economic inequality and economic opportunity, and I'm going to tax the so-called rich who aren't allegedly paying their fair share. I want them to have to pay 52% in taxes. They have to go up another 2%. And that's going to fund everything. That's going to fund my bus program, my, quote, free bus program, my city grocery stores. And he seems to think that there is like an endless well of money amongst rich people. And there isn't. Here's a little bit of that in SOT 10.
But the question is how you'll make them free.
We will fund the revenue that would have otherwise been brought in from fares. And that's something that we would do in partnership with Albany. And I've put forward two proposals. The first is to raise taxes on the top 1% of New Yorkers by 2%. That would raise $4 billion. The second is to raise the state's top corporate tax rate to match that of New Jersey, which would raise $5 billion.
That's his solution. And this city is about to bless it.
The problem New York has is that about 40% of the people don't pay either on the subway or they just jump the turnstile, as we saw with the murdered DeCarlos Brown. He didn't even pay to get on that bus in Carolina. So the idea that all of these public transits are in the red because they cannot collect fares because during COVID or after George Floyd, it was considered wrong to enforce ticket gathering or paying to use mass transit. And then he comes along and says, well, the problem is that we make people pay too much, when the real problem is they're not really, a whole segment of the population never pays anyway. And so does he think that the people who jump the turnstiles in mass numbers are therefore better citizens because they get to have free subway or free buses? I mean, I don't understand it. There's so many people.
Meanwhile,
that
he's got this leftist belief that there's just an endless supply of rich people who will stay in New York forever and be his guinea pig, be his piggy bank, not guinea pig, piggy bank. And I'm here to tell you it's not true. I mean, I know a lot of rich people who live in New York City and they're fleeing. They already were fleeing post-COVID and that nonsense, but they're fleeing right now in anticipation of this guy winning. The pot of billionaires and millionaires from whom he has to steal is smaller than ever. I'll just give you one example. So we moved from New York to Connecticut in 2021, and we sold our apartment on the Upper West Side, and we just went back just for kicks to see like what was going on with our apartment because we heard that it was for sale. And it's for sale, and it's almost 30% discounted from where we sold it. Post-pandemic, when people were not running into the city, that was a tough time to sell the apartment, trust me. So it's like it was already at like a market decline. And since then, it's gone down almost 30%, this beautiful, almost new apartment, because of him, because people see what he's about to do and they're running. You know, what is it? The problem with socialism is that eventually you run out of other people's money.
Yeah, but you know what he'll do is if you look at the Castro brothers or Maduro or Hugo Chavez, any of these socialist-ass communists that take over, the first thing they do is go to wealthy people. And they say, you know what, everybody's scared of me, but I will cut a deal with you or you and you. And they get a small cadre who flip. And then they get concessions and exemptions from what he does. And I think he's going to do that. He's going to go to Wall Street and he's going to say, you know what, you're here, your family's here, I'm not going to touch you, but I want to know if you're going to support me and be on my team and shut up or give money. And there will be a lot of people who will be co-opted. I predict it. That's exactly what happened in Cuba and Venezuela. It's happened in Colombia. And anytime a socialist takes over, a communist, the first thing he does, they did that in the Bolshevik reservation, they go to the aristocracy or what they call the oligarchy and they start to cut deals. And these stupid people think they'll be protected or exempted by doing business with the city, or he'll say, I'll give you a contract with the city, or I won't enforce this city tax on your firm, or something like that. And that's what he's counting on, I think. That's why he knows a lot are going to flee, but he also knows that he's talking to a lot of very, very wealthy people in New York that don't want to leave. And he's saying, if you don't want to leave, I can make it easy for you, but you're going to have to play ball with me, and you're going to be there's going to be recompense for it rather than punishment. And I bet you'll see a lot of people. And they're always deluded because in the end they always get it eventually. And that's what happened in Russia. That's what happened in China. That's what happened in Cuba. That's what happened in Venezuela. You cannot deal with these people, and yet there'll be people in New York who think they can. And Mamdani, I think, is counting on that.
He is a wolf in sheep's clothing. You know, he's affable, he's smiley, he talks a good game, but his policies are as radical as they come. If I had a nickel for every friend of mine in New York who said, you got out just in the nick of time, you know, good for you. We're so envious that you sold and you got out, and that's how we feel too. Thank God. I mean, Connecticut's better. It's still leftist, but it's not as leftist as that city's about to go. Buy gold and get free silver. That's right. For every $5,000 purchased from Birch Gold Group this month in advance of Veterans Day, they're going to send you a free patriotic silver round that commemorates the Gadsden and American flags. Look, gold is up over 40% since the beginning of this year, and Birch Gold can help you own it by converting an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Plus, they will send you free silver honoring our veterans on qualifying purchases. And if you are current or former military, Birch Gold has a special offer just for you. They are waiving custodial fees for the first year on investments of any amount. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, consider diversifying your savings into gold. Just text MK to the number 989898 for a free info kit and to claim your eligibility for free silver with qualifying purchase before the end of the month. Okay, before the end of the month. Again, text MK to the number 989898. Message and data rates may apply. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.